distinguished personalities in our midst, I seize this opportunity to welcome you all to another edition. This time around, it is the second series of Postgraduate Seminar program. But this one will take a very unique status in the sense that it's going to be a hybrid one. I welcome you once again to Postgraduate Seminar students organized by Postgraduate School of University. Of course, this is the second series of this seminar to perhaps acquaint our potential doctorate degree. The first one is literature review. You will only be taken through how to develop and present research proposal, use of language, importance of sources and importance of sources and reference, and so many other ones that are here. Of course, I've just been informed this morning that the Vice Chancellor will join us sooner than later to making sure that the necessary glamour and the quality of presentation and training will be added onto this seminar. So on this note, I want to welcome you all by inviting our distinguished personalities to the high table here. Of course, I've been informed that the Vice Chancellor of this great university, Professor Ayodeji Olayinka Johnson Agbola, has been duly represented by another distinguished alumnus of this great university. We talk of class, we talk of academic, we talk of intelligence, we talk of intellectual capacity, we talk of character, we talk of competence. Please join me in welcoming to the high table here our Deputy Vice Chancellor of Academy, Professor Olatutu Apostle Oderin. I thought we can do that tomorrow, at this very program. Thank you very much. Of course, we have the personality behind transformation of postgraduate school. I have here in our midst the Provost of Postgraduate School, Professor, a former Dean of Faculty of Education, Faculty of Science. You see him all over. He talks about education, he talks about everything, so he knows where he belongs. So he's a man in what do you call it now, God. Thank you very much. As I introduce to you, Professor Olusegun Adebayo Lawal. Thank you very much. I thought we could do better. Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, of course, there are so many research experts here, intellectual entrepreneurs, I call them, citizen scholars, but among them today is the Dean, Faculty of Basic Medical Sciences, Professor Anotola Agbola. Please come to the high table. I thought we could do better. That's the Dean, Faculty of Basic Medical Sciences from Obafemi College of Health Sciences. Thank you very much. Of course, in our midst here are distinguished scholars, like I mentioned earlier, who are experts in guiding, giving the necessary guidance, mentorship in research. I have in our midst here a very distinguished personality from the Department of Economics, Faculty of Social Sciences, Professor O.E. Makula. Is another distinguished person for today. He's going to tell us more about the basic of research. I thought we could do that better. Thank you very much. Also in our midst today is another scholar, the head department of microbiology, Dr. Titilayo Adeshitan. Please come to the high table. Thank you very much. Of course, we have Professor Philip Ihane here from the Department of Health Sciences, Faculty of Science. He's going to tell us more about the literature review. Please come to the high table, sir. The former Dean, Faculty of Science, and currently the Director of Research in Olabisi Onabanjo University, Professor Samuel Bankole. Please come to the high table. Professor Bankole, please. Also in our midst today, we have a lot of them here. I think we should put calls through to our fellow students to make sure that they join us on time, as the program will commence properly immediately. We conclude the invitation to the high table here. Dr. T.O. Olayemi is equally one of the research persons here, who is going to put us through the use of language. Thank you very much. And so many other distinguished personalities here. As soon as they get in here, we keep introducing, bringing them to the high table. Thank you very much. Can we put our hands together for these distinguished personalities here? We all be rising now for the national anthem, the state anthem, and of course, the other. Represented by our Deputy Chancellor Academy, Professor Latundu Abosedi Oderinde. We had high table here, the postgraduate seminar for postgraduate students. Of course, a lot to be unveiled today. Somebody yesterday, I said, Gab, the literature review, what do you do first, Dr. Balogun? I said, well, those days we were asked to review so many journals, about 50. After that, he said, we'll bring out our gap there. From there, we know what the gaps are going to fill. Is that not? If I'm not mistaken, the guy said, oh, maybe you can still tell us more. How many type of gaps do you have? I said, so many. He said, I should mention 2 or 3. I said, well, I remember theoretical gap, methodological gap, empirical gap, policy gap, and so many other gaps. As if that is not enough. I know you understand that there are more than 3 or 4 gaps in literature review today. Thank you very much. As I welcome to the podium here, the person that will tell you more, I don't know anything about that, will tell us more about that. Let me invite to the podium the Provost of Postgraduate School, Professor Olusegun Adebayo, to give the welcome address. Can you join me welcoming him to the podium? Thank you very much.
I want to appreciate the Vice Chancellor and the management, our amiable Vice Chancellor, ably represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academics, the Provost and Dean that are in attendance, the Professors, Head of Departments, Subdean, Postgraduate Program, Departmental Level, Departmental PG Coordinators, the lecturers on PG programs and colleagues here present, the doctoral students, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you here. Within a short time, I will just update seminar for the doctoral students of this university. As part of the education in higher institutions all over the world, undergraduate and postgraduate students engage in research to one degree or another. The purpose of this research exposure is to enhance learning and pursue interests and leading to development of critical and problem-solving skills. Postgraduate research is a complex form of education under a close supervision by senior academics. Here, too, the purpose is to train independent researchers and ultimately into the academic community. Also, it is a critical component that will enhance the prestige and reputation of Olabisi University as a world-class institution. Our focus will be on teaching a culture of creativity and innovation, leading to the creation and dissemination of new knowledge through interdisciplinary research, consultancy, effective partnership, and hybrid graduate programs. We will advocate excellence in all areas of scholarship with all stakeholders that make transformative discoveries that will impact the nation and the world. The postgraduate school is actively involved in initiating and developing new relevant interfaculty postgraduate programs and active research for the enlarged postgraduate program, which gives researchers the courage to venture into unknown, ask critical questions, and fearlessly proceed to find answers. Student advancement through each program provides opportunity to develop lasting friendship and support networks. The feedback from the first series held last year, December, was quite encouraging, and I'm sure the feedback for the second series cannot be less, rather greater, to move to the greater heights. The Postgraduate School of Olabisi University is convinced as a hub of total training of postgraduate students, which is the central to the academic mission and vision of the university, and a major step toward pursuit of educational goals. The principles for establishing the school are in tandem with the status that set Olabisi University at Norway as conceptualized by its founding fathers. The mission to be the best graduate school in Africa, Primus Inter Pares globally, and lead the university to achieve the highest excellence in staff, research and consultancies, academic content, and graduates through cutting-edge research to employ up-to-date data acquisition, information analysis, knowledge delivery system. The vision to provide course of instruction and other faculties to pursue high-quality postgraduate program throughout the university to all persons irrespective of race, grade, sex, or political conviction, and consequently provide the general society with needed high-quality human resources. Philosophy. The postgraduate school seeks to provide both standard academic and professional knowledge that will enable its products or students to compete favorably with their counterparts anywhere in the world. The students will be encouraged to cultivate a worldview that facilitates the continuous pursuit of academic and moral excellence and develop their expertise and competence in reducing society's problem. Challenges and solutions. Yeah, there are challenges, no doubt. We have our history, just like anyone. Even you and I, we have our history. But we have challenged ourselves to think beyond the status quo. Our team is be bold, be ambitious, and take it to greater heights. Yeah, what have we done so far? As at last 32nd and 33rd convocation ceremony held in January 2024, 112 were awarded PhD degree across the faculties, with departments running PhD programs, except one. Then the second leg to that achievement is we have the flowcharts, which prescribe that the program you come in for, we encourage you to finish it within the minimum duration. If you are in as a part-time for PhD, we are looking at a way that you finish your program in 4 years. If you come in as a full-time student, 3 years, and continue with your life. The other one is we have some evaluation forms, and this is designed to monitor your progress and supervisors. And I want to let you know that you are going to have that form during the course of that big seminar. So you will have opportunity to express yourself and will know where to really go and solve some of the problems that might be identified. Then the other one is we have the RPMS, and this is one of the milestones that we've been able to achieve. You can see your results almost immediately when it's being uploaded. And this program starts from 21-22 session. Then the university seminar, just like what we are in now, is going to continue. With time, we are going to review it, and we're going to continue with series of topics and titles that are beneficial to doctoral students. Then the Faculty Research Week Committee is working towards having Faculty Research Week, which will showcase the work of the postgraduate students. So we are on this. And to let you know that recently that the university had a sort of harmony or MOU or partnered with Swazi University and University of Central National Council in the United Kingdom. And this program is to award bachelor degree and again to collaborate in research and for publications of academic journal and in exchange programs. Also the industry leading to employment opportunity and internship training and collaboration. Way forward, postgraduates should have more of the SDG related research with outputs that particularly impacts national development. The postgraduate research should be multidisciplinary and problem solving for proper utilization and commercialization with well-documented intellectual property rights. Postgraduate research should be dynamic in focus, responding to emerging contemporary issues such as climate change, artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, digital humanities, and other emerging technology. And I would like to let you know that one of the universities that we partner with in UK, one of the industries that we partner with is organizing training for interested students, even though at undergraduate, for nanotechnology. And that training comes online every Friday. So I've been a partaker of that training. I've been joining them. And the students, I charge you, please, I know you have challenges, but I want to say don't give up. Push a little more. It will all end in praise. Be disciplined about life, be a law-abiding, and be committed to your studies. I have these few ones for you because you are potential researchers and you are researchers of integrity and dignity. A good researcher typically possesses a combination of skills, traits, qualities, and that enable them to conduct rigorous, systemic, and unbiased investigation. We just have the list of some of the qualities of a good researcher. You must be curious, curiosity, objectivity, critical thinking, attention to details, organization skills, creativity, persistence, open-minded, intellectual honesty, communication skill, collaboration, adaptability, respect for ethics, continuous learning, analytical skills. I say thank you, and I wish you a nice time during this seminar series. You're welcome.
Beautiful and detailed presentation. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I invite the Vice Chancellor of this great university, Professor Ayodeji Olayinka Johnson Agbola, who today is ably represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Academy, Professor Olatutu Abosede Otenrinde, to give the opening remarks. I want to put our hands together and welcome her to the podium. I thought we would do that better. Just to inform you that this program is being done by over 300 students, doctoral students, master students online. Please put your hands together to tell you that this program is very popular. Thank you very much.
Postgraduate School, did basic medical sciences, professors here present, and the great OERs. On behalf of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Ayodeji Olayinka Johnson Agbola, I stand here today to welcome you in the series of postgraduate seminars in Olabisi Onabanjo University. Like the Provost mentioned, the first in the series came up last year, and then we had a fuller house than this. I was really surprised when I came in and I met these few. It is hybrid. I understand. Even last year it was hybrid, but we still had a fuller house. This event is one of the initiatives of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Agbola, who actually came up with this idea of postgraduate seminars. He came up with these different topics in his attempt towards the accomplishment of the mission of this university, which is to provide the best educational experience for our students. And so we owe this to the efforts of the Vice Chancellor. He is unavoidably absent here today because he needs to attend to another serious issue. But you can be sure his mind is here with us. You know that as postgraduate students, research is the center, is at the core of postgraduate study. There is need to maintain a systematic approach in our approach to research process. As PhD candidates, from literature reviews to data collection and analysis, and a meticulous documentation of your sources, it is very, very important that you adopt a strategic approach. We see that in any postgraduate studies, particularly for the PhD students, it begins with choosing a title that aligns with your research interests and career goals. Getting a supervisor whose research interests match your own, with whom you have a good rapport. That is very, very important. You will hear more about all this as our facilitators will be coming up one after the other to actually address these different topics, right from the basics, rudiments of research, the essence of getting a relevant, appropriate title for your thesis. We see that in view of the flowchart, and I'm sure all of us have both for the master's program and our PhD program. In view of that flowchart that has been circulated, there is the need for you to demonstrate ability to manage time. When you look critically at that flowchart, you will see that there is no room for laziness and indolence. You must be up and doing. You have 3 sessions as a full-time PhD student and 4 sessions to complete your program as a part-time PhD student. And so there is need for you to demonstrate ability to manage time, prioritize tasks, and work efficiently within the stipulated period so that you can finish right on time. The flowchart does not give room for indolence, as I have mentioned. Hence, you need to maintain a rigorous and consistent work schedule. Efficiently manage your time to balance research, coursework, and personal life. Be willing to revise your research approach based on feedback from your different seminars. Remember, it is not compulsory that you publish your research in reputable journals before your final defense. This will enhance your academic profile and help you to contribute to your field. It then becomes necessary that you empower yourself with all necessary organizational skills to navigate the complexities of postgraduate studies in the university. The university is ready and has put everything in motion to ensure that you finish your program as and when due. But it's in your hands. Whether you will finish as and when due is in your hands. The university has put everything. The supervisors are willing and ready to actually provide the necessary guidance, and the postgraduate school is as well very much ready to ensure that you finish as and when due. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you all the best in your endeavors. Thank you. I hereby, on behalf of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Ayodeji Olayinka Johnson Adola, declare this event open.
Thank you very much. Can we put our hands again for the Vice Chancellor of this great university? Ably represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Academy, Professor Olatutu Apostle Oderinde. Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation, and of course the declaration of this seminar opened by our amiable Vice Chancellor. So on this note, I now want to invite, of course the program has commenced. We now listen to our resource persons here, our distinguished scholars in our midst, senior academic, intellectual entrepreneurs. There are very many here. Certificate scholar, I call them. These are research experts of very long period of time. Thank you very much. May I now invite our distinguished professor of economics from the Department of Economics, Faculty of Social Sciences, Olabisi Onabanjo University, to step forward and give us the intellectual diet about the basics of research. On this note, join me in welcoming to the podium Professor O.E. Marco. Can we put our hands together for him? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The Vice Chancellor of Stanshire, Deputy Vice Chancellor of Academics, the Deans and Provost here present, those who are unavoidably absent, the Provost, my team members, Professor Emi Olaroja and Dr. T.O. Adeshiton, the audience physically present and those who are online. The task before my team is very simple, and is to provide a framework, a background, the basics of research. The scripture says, should the foundation be destroyed, what can the righteous do? Research is a craft. You learn it. Because you learn it, it is always systematic. The word research comes from two words, read and search. That means people have been searching ahead of you. you want to add your own to the body of knowledge. So in research, what is research? Systematic approach in solving a problem. Why is it systematic? Because it is stepwise. Because you are guided by principles and tenets. Research is a craft. Why is it a craft? Because you learn, you move from one stage to the other. That's why in PhD research, you do your proposal before you do your postfield. So research implies a systematic approach in doing an investigation. It is a craft that you have to learn from time to time. It is global, yet every discipline has its own peculiarity. And that's why when you go through the guideline of the PhD school, there are peculiarity to each faculty, even to different departments. So you have to be very conversant. What is the purpose of research? Why do we even make it a partial fulfillment for the award of MSc and PhD? In some universities, I don't know of anyone in Nigeria, you can earn PhD by coursework alone. But about 75% of universities in the world, you have to write a dissertation or a thesis to earn MSc or PhD. What is the purpose? Without research, we will not get a job. I will not be here. You will not be studying. Research implies trying to know more about an already existing issue, a problem that is emerging, and the rest. So research unravels a problem. It adds to the body of knowledge. There is no discipline you come from. People have been doing research. Even in your narrowest area of discipline, there are plethora studies and research that has been done. But you want to add to the volume of the existing knowledge. That is why we do research. The ultimate goal of research is to solve problems. Is to improve human welfare. Is to see problem, address it, and solve it. Is to contribute your own knowledge to the study that is on ground. So that is what research is all about. Continuous searching for knowledge. Research. And I've told you it's a craft, so we learn it. And the purpose of research is to add values to knowledge. The next thing is you have to know that research is multidisciplinary. Every discipline engaged in research. So research is global. In my team now we have a professor from Agri, we have an associate professor from science, and now from social science. So it tells us that every discipline deals with research. Now the next thing is, when you want to start the research, you have to select a topic. That is the starting point. How do you select the topic? What are those factors you have to consider? You also have to, the first thing is start from you. You are the one conceiving the baby. Because you are the one conceiving the baby, the idea comes from you, not from your supervisor. That's why before you start the research, you are going through a number of coursework. You have been taught so many principles, so many theories, and then in the course of doing this, you are aligning yourself with an area of interest. So you must see a problem that you want to solve. Personally see a problem. No supervisor will identify the problem for you. You must know what you intend to solve as a problem. You must also know that what you intend to do is not what has been done. You want to at least add a little value to what is in existence. You must have a personal interest in what you are choosing. Every discipline has their own areas. Out of 10, 20 areas in your own field, which area am I going to? What is prompting your interest in that area? You have to know. You have to have adequate access to research materials in the chosen area of interest. You have to have access to adequate material. Even if you have interest and you are not having sufficient literature, that interest may have to go to the oblivion. You yourself must be sure that you have been able to lay your hands on a wide range of materials that can guide your research. What are the other social considerations? Beyond you, what comes next? Your supervisor. Your choice of supervisor is very, very important. In UI, they tell us that the success of your PhD or MSc depends about 60% on the level of your interaction with your supervisor. In the faculty where I come from and the department where I belong to, we allow students to pick supervisor, 3 of them. Then we look at the area of interest of the candidates, and the board will select among the 3 the most competent to supervise the candidates. Even when the candidates say no to the one we choose, we still listen to the candidates and allow the candidate to have a say, because he is the one going on the journey. So is just like a navigator guiding him or her. So you need to know all this and choose the right supervisor to guide your interests. Then how do you title your project? Of course, you have to talk about the sources of your research topic. Where do you get the sources from? When you have talked about the extensive literature, you look at the literature and say where the gap is for you to fill. You have to look at some other reports, some other studies that have been done. You also have to discuss with experts. Among the experts are your supervisors and your colleagues. You also have to look at emerging issues that are coming up, contemporary issues in the study area. You also have to have personal observation with your interest area. And then you also have to prepare for the financial engagement that is required for the journey you are about to embark upon. The next thing is framing the topic. Well, in framing the topic, it's expected that you have done enough of the literature review. It is expected that you are coming out with a very clear topic. If you are in agri, somebody in science must see your topic and understand what you are intending to do, even from the first page. Clarity is very key. You don't use words that are ambiguous. You use words that are familiar with the general public. Because except on certain occasions where you have some terms that are peculiar to your own interest area. So as much as possible, you choose words that are very common and general to the public. Because the thesis is not only about you or your field of study. Anybody can lay his or her hand on that and wants to read about what you have read, or what you have written rather. The topic has to be specific, and it has to be quite descriptive of what you intend to do. There must not be deviation from your topic and your objective. You are still going to get to that. It must be in line with the research objectives. It should not be at a deviation from the objectives. And you also have to consider your audience. Who are the people you want to address? What is the problem you want to attend to? All these are also very important. Titling your project is like naming an unborn child. Many of us have gone through parenthood before. When you conceive a child, things around you tells you the name you give to that child. That's why your Bible says, meaning that you look at the circumstances and peculiarity of the baby, then you name the baby. So in titling your work, it's like naming an unborn child. You must have an understanding of what is happening around you. I think I will talk about that when we get to the background to the study. But this is not part of the slide, but I think it's very important I mention it. Background to the study. What is it all about? If you look at the guidelines we are given, almost every discipline has background to the study. What should be there? What are those things that are key there? Background to the study actually gives you a broad-based first reference point to your study. In most of the outline, it is always the first thing to come about. Then what is there that you need to know about the background to the study? It provides a build-up to the research. Build-up. And before you can do build-up, you need adequate review of the literature. There are two different strands on what background should contain. Some school of thought say you should be citing because you don't know anything about what you are writing. Others say no, what you are writing you have an idea, but you bring in your voice into what other people have said. I think I go with the two, both citation and your own voice, into a broad-based overview of what has been happening. And how do you write it? You write it by following what is called a funnel channel. You start globally. What is happening to the key variables of interest? For instance, if I'm working on money supply and inflation in economics, what have people been doing around it in the world? Outside Africa, in the SSA countries, in Africa, in Nigeria, maybe I now come to my study area. So the background to the study should provide us, is the first point of contact to your work. It should provide us broad-based information. And you can't do that except you have done a lot of literature sampling and review. So apart from that, you also have to ensure that when you do research, there are two variables. The driven variable and the variable that is driving it. You call one dependent, the other one independent. You start with the dependent variable. That variable that is the major, the major variable, the variable that is being driven in your work. If you are working on, for instance, you are in agric, you are working on the effect of fertilizer on crop yield. Crop yield is the dependent variable. So you have to look at crop yield. What have people said about crop yield in the past? In those places you want to cite from, what have they said about the relationship between crop yield and fertilizer in the past? Globally, African level, before you come to your own level. That is what is called the funnel flow of the background to the study. That is the key thing you need in the background to the study. You want to provide a brief build-up to your work. Recency is very important. You must ensure that the work you are bringing, because you say something is a background, you want to look at it up to the last moment before you start your own. So when you are doing background, working on the works of 2010, 2015 may not be good enough. You have to update the background to the study. Then we go to the objective of the study. The objective of the study are your intention, what you want to achieve. Basically, most of the areas we have it broad and then the specific. Some people don't call it broad, they call it aim, the aim of the study. The aim of the study is the broad-based objective. And then because we want you to be specific, we want to narrow it down and see that the component of that broad is attended to. Then we have the specific objectives. The broad objective will only reflect in your conclusion when you are concluding. But the specific objective will reflect in your findings because you break it down and then when you are discussing your finding, you have to discuss it one after the other. What are those things you have to note before you come up with your objective? Of course, 5 major things. It has to be measurable. It has to be measurable. You don't use, I have my learned colleagues from education here. You don't need at the end of this study, the student should be able to know, should be able to understand. No. You should use words that are quantifiably measurable. You want to determine, you want to evaluate. So from the way you even coin your objective, we know whether you know what you are doing or not. So it has to be measurable. It has to be specific. Nobody can solve the entire problem in research. You have to pick certain area. No matter how narrow you have gone into research, you still go to the narrow of the narrowest. You pick up specific objectives you want to achieve. And you also have to know that it has to be time bound. Nobody is here to do research or PhD. You have been told about the flow chart and rest. You have a limited time to stay here. Nobody is here to solve the entire world problem. You have a limited time to do your research. So whatever you intend to choose to do, some PhD programs, some PhD theses only have 2 objectives. I've seen one with only 1 specific objective. And I've seen one with 7 or 8 or 9. But you ask yourself the question, will I be able to achieve this set of specific objectives? Then the research questions. There are questions you want to ask yourself. Where are these questions coming from? Where are they coming from? They are coming from what bothers your mind. What are those things you want to unravel? What are those things you want to achieve? So the research questions come naturally from the statement of the problem. We are still coming to that. What is contained in the statement of the problem? The research question, it is not by accident that we say background to the study. Then you come to statement of problem before research question. Even though there are differences from faculty to faculty. But your statement of problem should motivate your research question. Every question you want to answer must have been motivated in your statement of problem. So, what are the questions you are asking? Your question must also be hand in glove with your objectives. What are your objectives? Each question, when answered, it implies that the objective has been achieved. I want to repeat that. Every question, when answered, implies that each objective has been achieved. So when you are setting your research question, you avoid yes or no answer. Does this one cause this? No. How does this one cause this? What is the impact of this on this? What is the relationship between this on this? So as much as possible, you avoid a yes or no answer. Then from there, we go to the statement of the problem. This is where many of you usually have challenges. What are those things that we hear that I've not said in the background to the study? How is this one different from the background to the study? The simple answer is this. The core of research is solving the problem. If you go through undergraduate grading of results, statement of problem carries 20 to 25%. Because we want to know, do they have an idea of the problem identified? So you must be able to identify the problem. That's the first thing. Identify a problem. And what is the source of getting that? It's through the literature. After identifying the problem, you have to attend to what has been done to address the problem. What are those things that have been done? In terms of other people's study, in terms of policies, in terms of programs, in terms of interventions, here and there. The next thing is, why is the problem persisting? Because if those things have solved that problem, you won't come back and want to solve it. These are the issues we want to see that truly there is problem. What is the problem? What has been done to address the problem? In terms of effort of researchers, in terms of institutional contribution, in terms of policies and programs. These are things you want to see. We want to really see you have a problem on your hand that you want to address. Why is the problem persisting? Then you also have to tell us what are the likely implications if this problem is not attended to. Because if you say it's a problem and you said it has not been solved, we want to see that if there is danger if you don't intervene. We want to see your intervention as a means to avert a danger. And that is what the statement of problem is all about. Significance of the study. Telling you specifically what is the relevance of the study. Which areas you find the study interesting. From the field of researchers, institutions, organizations, and the rest. What are those set of people that will find the research useful? And I think I have to add also the scope of the study. Your scope makes your work to be limited to a particular entity, so that you are not exposed to questions in all areas of your study. So you have to identify your scope in terms of geographical spread, in terms of the time space, and you have to justify what is making you to limit your scope to those areas. Well, the last two slides are not categorically related to the basics of research, but because it's outlined among those things we have to say. That's the research design and methodology. I know another group will talk about that. In terms of what it's all about, but this is the basic introduction. The research design has to tell us about all the inputs that you use in your research, especially when it comes to data, how you source it, how you clean it up, how you check your data, how you code your data, how you classify your data. Everything has to do with data and the quality of data used. It's just a subset of methodology. Methodology is more praised. It is more broad-based. Methodology has to do with the entire technique, the expectation, if there is any, and other components of methodology are also taken care of. So naturally, we can choose your methodology from different strands. Some are experimental, some are quantitative, some are qualitative, some are non-experimental, and so on. I think when you get to the area of methodology, more of this will be said. Thank you so much for listening.
Professor Oyiman, basis of research. Thank you very much. I recognize the Director of Center for Continuing Education at the Senamanjo University is very much around here. Please join me in welcoming to the high table here our distinguished scholar from the Department of Philosophy, Professor G.D. Dasau. Please come to the high table, sir. We equally have Dr. Mosule from Faculty of Arts. It's another resource person here. Please come to the high table, sir. Thank you very much. Let me on this note now. Of course, this seminar will take a format of a lead presenter. After that, we will entertain questions from our students here, and other discussants there will now make their contribution in the course of answering the questions posed by the student here. I think that is clear enough. So it is now time for us to ask questions on the basic of research that will be presented by the lead presenter here, the person of Professor O.E. Magu. Students here, please, we will take this format again. Let's note our questions on these topics. So maybe we round it off. We will now, start entertaining every question. So let me give your indulgence to now move to the next person to present paper on literature review. So immediately after that, when we must have done the whole thing, we will now go into that. Is that clear? I don't know if I've made myself, I want that clear on very much. Mr. Professor Phillips Ihani, thank you very much. Please can you welcome him to the podium? Thank you very much, sir.
The Vice Chancellor, ably represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor, the Provost from the Postgraduate School, the Dean, Basic Medical Sciences, all professors who are present, that is available in existing literature that you now synchronize into meeting the need of the gap you want to fill. It is like a document that really puts out the importance of what people have done in the areas that you want to go into. A literature review is a study that is a study, more importantly, like a survey of what people have done in that your area of interest. Just like the last speaker mentioned, said you use the funnel type, you start from the global to it's coming down from the world to your continent, to your country, and to your environment. So you survey everything and look at it in such a way that you can now put them together and derive a gap or what has not been done about your area of interest, and you now specify that thing that has not been done, how it is a problem and how you can solve that problem. So a literature review will help you to examine all these findings, outlining them and bringing out what actually will conform with what you want to do and how you can now use them to step up what you are about to do or what the research you are undertaking. So the objective of literature review, it helps you to survey your literature, all the existing literature in your choosing area of study. For instance, as a geologist, you say you want to look at petroleum resource in a particular basin. You are going to look at that basin. Is it a cratonic basin or intercratonic basin? Is it an inland basin or is it an open basin? If it is an open basin, then you look at literatures of what people have done about petroleum resource in open basin. How is your basin related to what people have done in open basin in the world, in Africa, and in your area of study? Then you can now, after you do all this survey, you can know what they did and what you are going to do. How can you derive fact from what they are doing, and how can this push you forward in what you are about to do? So literature will help you to synthesize all this information, and you can now summarize all this information, bringing them into recency of what you are about to do. At this junction, you need to survey even old literature. You survey old literature, bring them to the recent literature, see the missing gap between the old one and the recent one, and how you can now derive your own and move forward. So the literature review basically will critically open you to ability to gather information and enable you to identify the gaps in previous work or in existing literature. You can now identify it, know the current trend, put the current trend with the old trend, and now bring out what you are about to do. So it will now help you to know whether there are limitations in the theories, whether there are limitations in the evaluation of the past. Bring out those limitations and now work on those limitations, project those limitations in such a way that you have provide solution to problem in that area. So it also helps you to present your research in an organized manner. It helps you to project the significance of your study in a manner that even a layman will understand. So by the time you go through all this existing literature, relating them to the current literature that you have also looked at, it will now help you to demonstrate a kind of familiarity with what you are about to do. It will help you to demonstrate the familiarity with the body of knowledge and the credibility of your work. So literature review is important for you to be on it, so that all prior researches
and see how those prior researches is linked with your own and project your own in a line of a recent finding. It also helps you to integrate all what has been done into a particular position that you can actually fix what you are going to do, and it will help you to know the kind of problem you are solving and help you to write well about the problem you are solving. So how do you go about it? How do you go about it? The first thing is to choose your topic. The first thing is to choose your research area. Your research area should not be too limited. It should not be too comprehensive. It must be all-encompassing, but it must not be too wide in a sense that you cannot finish within a limited period of time that you are allocated. The task you will engage in must be, your research must be within a feasible time. For full time, you are having three sessions. For a part time, you are having 4 sessions. So you don't fix what you cannot do within that limited time. Of course, your supervisor will have guided you in the direction of your research, going from your bench work to your writing and eventually submitting your thesis. So in doing that, your research should be specific, and your literature review will help you to establish the specificity of this research. When you go through, you know which problem you are about to solve, and how can you provide solution to those problems in such a way that, okay, if I'm going to do this, is it not too much? For instance, just as I said earlier, you are looking at you are evaluating a basin for hydrocarbon potential. You know, if are you going for source rock investigation, how is those rock producing the oil? Is that what you are going into? How will it take you? What experiment are you going to carry out in this area? Or are you going for basin analysis? Because if you are going for basin analysis, it will encompass all the events that are taking place in that basin, the hydrocarbon potential and the like. This might be too wide for you to cover within this stipulated time allocated to you. So by going through the literature of everything you can see, you can now bring out the particular area you want to do so that you can complete it within the time that is allocated to that study. The next thing is to define your research scope. You know the boundary. I'm not going across this line. I know the line I want to stop. So if any question is asked, you can be able to say, well, it's a job that another person can do, but your own research ended at this boundary. You must be able to draw the boundary through your literature review. It will help you to be specific, to answer a particular specific question, and it will also help you to know the minimum and maximum number of research journals, books, and the like that you go into. The third thing is for you to identify the kind of literature you are going to use. So you need to search broadly. And in searching, you need to do this through scholarly books. You need to go through journal articles. You need to even go into old theses, old dissertation. You look at them. You read about what people have done. You read about what people have done in journals, in books, and the like. So the next thing is for you to look for references and bibliographies. You write them out, and then you can know the type of journal to search. Of course, if you are looking for, maybe you are looking for something like, you are looking at, for instance, you are looking at grain size. In geology, you are looking at grain size evaluation. You can look at who are in the area of who are in the area of sedimentology. Who you can key their names into your Google search, and when you key their name into your Google search, it will bring out some of the work that they have done. From there, you can go on to develop an understanding of how grain size evaluation is being done and the like, and you can now prepare and see how you can really fit it into what you are going to do. There are a lot of citation tools that you can use. So you need all these references, you need to mind them, bring them all together, because at the end of the day, it will help you in your references. You can even use your Google Scholars to do that. The next thing is to critically analyze the literature. Critically analyze the literature. Just like I have mentioned before. So a critical analysis of your literature can be done by you collecting all topics that are similar or that are familiar to the areas you intend to work in. So when you look at all those topics, all those journal titles and the like that related to, for instance, if you are saying you are writing anything in economics, there may be some work in other area that is even different from the area that you can even get some back from. So you need to look at all this. All the sources you now gather, you need to bring them together, read them, summarize them, see how they have they can have impact, or how they have relationship to what you are about to do. And well, all these resources, when you now have them, you need to categorize them. The fifth thing you need to do, categorize them. Know their roles. How is their role similar to your own? How is their role having impact on what you are going to do? So you can do this. You can do them chronologically by arranging them in years. You arrange them in years from the oldest to the most recent. You can also arrange them according to their themes, according to their title. You can arrange them also according to the method individual used in their work. And now by that arrangement, you can now see, okay, this one is working on this. What is the method he used? This one work on this. What is the method he used? This method and this method, are they similar to what I want to do? Do they have relationship with what I want to do? Then you can now take part of this, take part of this. If I take part of this and take part of this method, take part of this method, it can give me a new method that I can eventually use in arriving at what I'm about to do. So at this junction, you must do a thorough evaluation, because once your method is wrong, your result cannot be right. Once your method is wrong, your result cannot be right. In science, we say once your sampling is wrong, then what are you doing? If somebody has worked and he collected sample science, you look at theoretical, philosophical, all these approaches in these different areas, you bring them together into a repository that you can actually point and say, this is this, this is this, this is this, so person did this, so person did this person did that, that one did that. At the end of the day, they were not able to do this. This that they are not able to do is what I want to do, and what I'm doing is limited to social scope. So those are what will guide you in actually writing your literature review at the end of your experiment. So in conclusion, I will talk about the mystery of literature review. And the mystery of literature review is in of literature review. Because the essence of literature review is for you to find a missing gap in your area of interest. Once a gap, your research cannot fill a gap, or once your research cannot provide solution to a problem, then something is wrong, or that research is inadequate. So, for you to do this, there are certain steps you need to take. There are steps you need to take, and this step will help you to identify the research gaps. And until you have that research gap that you want to fill, your research is incomplete. Once you go through your literature review, you select questions of interest. Okay, what has this man done? What was the final outcome of what he did? All these questions you need to ask yourself. What am I about to do? What can I derive, or which sense can I get from what this man has done? These are questions you need to ask yourself, and these are what will motivate you into the kind of search you are going to do. So, if you are able to successfully answer these questions, then you can now sit down and look at journals or books or literatures that have actually addressed those areas but are unable to put answers to those gaps that you found missing. So by doing, you can now able to bring out your own topic or your own title. That, okay, this my title that I'm bringing out is going to solve this problem. If somebody has done a work, for instance, in Niger Delta, but the area to which that person did that work in Niger Delta, they discover hydrocarbon in that area. I can go and look at what he has done, which method he used, look at the various formations he highlighted, and now I want to work in charge basin. I want to work in charge basin to see, because I want to see if we have hydrocarbon too in a charge basin. So going through all what you have done, looking at the various formations, are they similar to what I have in charge basin? Through literature, what is the stratigraphic setup of charge basin? Is it similar to that of Niger Delta? Which particular strata do they get the hydrocarbon? We have that kind of strata at this. Is it buried at the same depth as this one is buried? Is it the same depth that is buried at this particular child raising that I'm looking at. It is when I'm able to answer those questions that I can now go and be looking at literature concerning what people have done in child raising. I bring it out. Have anybody done what I'm about to do, or my area in my interest now? Has anybody covered that? If it has not been done, then I can now go ahead to do that. So there are various type of gap, concentric gap and the like. I think this one was done in the last program that we had. So thank you very much for this.
Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our members of audience here, let me now invite another distinguished scholar from the Faculty of Education, who is going to tell us more about how to develop and present what we call research proposal. Join me in welcoming to the podium Professor Akindele Oscar. Thank you very much. Of course, I have in our midst here, who is equally a resource person, Professor Idowu from Department of Cooperative and Rural Development. You are most welcome. Come to the high table, sir. Thank you very much. Professor Oscar, please.
Good afternoon. Mr. Vice Chancellor, ably represented by the DVC academics, deans, head of departments present, dear colleagues, and dear postgraduate students. I stand proxy for my team, which is inclusive of Professor Arnold Dijabola and Professor S.A. Bankole. And if there is any lacuna in my presentation, the two of them would help to fill the void. My team has been saddled with the responsibility of talking about developing and presenting the research proposal. And this next slide would reveal to us what we'll be talking about. And we have labeled that as anatomy of the research proposal. We'll look at the following in detail within the time allotted. But one thing that is very instructive is that for you to be able to write a good research proposal, there are some personal attributes you must not be kwashiorkor in. Those personal attributes must be necessarily present in you, or you must have them or develop them before you can talk of engaging in the act of writing a research, developing and presenting a research proposal. And what are those personal attributes? You need to be motivated. You must have motivation in large quantum. If you have applied for a postgraduate program, either a master's degree or a PhD degree, you must have achievement motivation. You must be driven to want to complete that work within the time that have been stipulated. We have heard from the Provost Postgraduate School about the flowchart. And that flowchart, beginning from this session, will be religiously administered or implemented by the university administration. So it is important that you must have motivation. You must have the courage to want to do the needful. And you must be confident that you can do it. You must also have cognitive intelligence and emotional intelligence needed to prosecute the research that you are proposing to undertake. You must also be very creative. You must be ready, because issues related to postgraduate is about adding to knowledge, contributing to knowledge. In fact, there are some theses in some faculties where contribution to knowledge is a subtopic on its own. Whereas in some other faculties, this is subsumed in paragraph. It does not necessarily have a title. But any work that you are doing that's not going to contribute to knowledge, that is not novel, or that you are not doing what has been done before in a new way, which is innovative competence, the act of innovation, then you can't engage in a research proposal. And finally, you must be motivated to want to succeed. The difference between champions and losers is in their habits. Those who achieve success are not necessarily gifted, but there are people who work smart and who work hard. So if you have success at the back of your mind, then you can be sure doing a research proposal which will eventually lead to the research work or research activities would not be a problem. We can go to the next slide. How do you now create the ambience? How do you create the context for your research proposal? I have just talked about the personal attributes, but let me be more academic here when we are talking about the personal attributes. So we're going to talk about the personal attributes again, just a little more, and then dwell on the academic attributes that you need, or some rhetoric questions you need to ask yourself and answer them truthfully. First, you must ask yourself the question: in what you want to do, will it deliver on your personal goals? Will it allow you to show off your capability? How many others have researched and are still researching in the area you have proposed to work on? And then, is there a room for one more? Because if you keep doing what others are doing and you're not doing it in a new way, you can be accused of plagiarism, or people will say what you are doing is not novel, you are not contributing to knowledge. So you can't waste my time, and you can find a supervisor who will put a perpendicular line. Or if it's not one supervisor or supervisor's team, in some universities, at the point of entry, you have been denied admission to run the program simply because of a poor research proposal. So you must ask yourself what you want to do. What have others done? What are they doing? Is there a room for one more? Is it that there is still something from what you have seen in the gap? The other time you heard about literature review. Have you identified a gap that you can still feel that is making that variable you want to work on very contemporary? 2, does this topic have a value dimension? Is it an area contested by academic researchers? Do your values predispose you to one position already, even before you start the journey of undertaking it in your proposal? How will your own framework that you are advocating, how will it change or create a level of neutrality so that the outcome that you will generate from the proposal you are doing will be acceptable to a wide range of researchers, and it will be capable of influencing people who have not yet taken a position? So the beauty of academics is that when there are researches ongoing, there will be positions, the leftist, the rightist, and the neutral. So what will your own proposal, what will it contribute? Are you going to be aligning, or you are going to be different? Are you daring to be different from what has been established? And that brings us to the real question: what is a research proposal? Let me start by saying that sometimes my students will say, "Prof, are you a magician? How do you know that we are copying?" I'm talking about my undergraduate students. And there are some things in the right, I'll laugh. A proposal that has an abstract. A proposal that is written in past tense. I say proposal. So as soon as they come, what I do is to underline some things and say, please, go and bring the original where they want to copy this thing from. I say, sir, I didn't copy. I said, you have one more chance to tell the truth. I said, I didn't want to copy you, but my friend. He said, but how do you know, sir? And I said, come. your proposal. Proposal, that's an abstract. An abstract is supposed to be a summary of the work you have done. So how can a proposal have an abstract? And they say, come and see here. I collected what you have not done. So when you talk about a research proposal, it's a proposal to conduct a research. It sounds monotonous, Abi, but there's an explanation there. It is a proposal to conduct a research. It does not involve the collection of data. And of course, it is written before the study is actually conducted. So how can you be writing in the past tense? So most proposals should be written in futuristic tenses. A proposal also allows opportunity to obtain feedback from departments, supervisors before the implementation of the study, which can of course be used to improve the proposed study. A proposal also gives the researcher the opportunity to identify and address any ethical issues that are raised by the proposed study. Because from the point of proposal, you will know if there are ethical issues, and you will have put in place procedures to one thing that you could want to get to navigate the ethical dimensions of issues that may be arising from the proposal. There are some institutions that when you write your proposal, they will also ask you to, even without starting the work, to go and get ethical approval that that work is doable. So they will allow you to even start, and then you get to the area of methodology or collection of data. In particular, they will ask you, go and get approval. But some universities, they won't allow you on some work. You won't even have to start. Before you start at all, ethically, is it doable? Can it be done? There are some people in university that will ask you, for instance, to go and do some crash courses on ethical issues before they will have to even issue you a certificate before you can conduct that study. So, a research proposal helps graduate students develop the knowledge and skills required for writing an article for publication. So you can see the beauty of proposal. It's not just about the research you want to conduct, but it also has futuristic value. Because if you are able to propose and your proposal comes out good, it also means that, remember now, our university has also started that about 2 sessions ago. So it has always been there, but I think the implementation actually started since that session. Now before you can do your oral, you must have been seen to have discussed some of the content of your findings in the global audience via publications, either in the national or the international journal. So, what are the constituents or ingredients of a good proposal? The first one is that there is this title page. Every good proposal must have a title page. Now we are talking about proposal for the conduct of master's and PhD degrees. But also remember that when you are doing the proposal, the intent is to get a master's or a PhD degree, also know that that same proposal can even earn you funding for the work you have not started. I remember I was lucky, during my first degree, that was the time we had the refugees at home, very close to us here. And my first degree project topic was evaluating guidance and counseling services in old refugee camp. So my supervisor told me to go there. And when I looked at what they have there, I did a proposal and I told my supervisor, sir, I think we can get money to fund this research. I said, and he was like, what do you mean? I said, yes, sir. The old refugee camp is not actually owned by Nigeria government. No, the Nigerian government provided that space. But it's an international organization. It is the United Nations High Commission for Refugees that funds the place. And so if we are helping them to evaluate the services that they conduct there, so we can make money. He said, that's true. And he said, go and do a proposal. The proposal I asked him to do before was for what I want to write. But I now did that proposal. And we got a letter from the Vice Chancellor there. to support that proposal, and we sent it to African Human Rights Refugee Foundation. They were on Balaji Bank Antoniwe by late S.C. Olushola, the village ambassador. He was the chairman of that one. I also sent it to the United Nations High Commission for Refugees in Nigeria. We got $100. It was a lot of money there. So doing the research was easy because we had funding. So what we are saying is that sometimes your header, your title is very important. Your title page. It can be inviting, it can attract not just the approval of the supervisor, it can also attract funding. So when you pick a title that is catchy, that is measurable, that is doable, and that falls within the number of words that postgraduate school have approved. And in our case here, I think it's 23, 21, it used to be 21, but I think depending on what you want to write. But the postgraduate prospectus will always tell you how many words that you are expected to have. So the title page should contain the header, which should compose on the first of 2-3 words that you have in your title. 21 words now, yes. Maximum of 21, yes. So you must have 21. So it's very important. The title page should have a header, should have a running head. Just like if you look at some publication in the journal, you know what to call a running head. No, it is used in publication, but it's also required in proposal. So it's like an abbreviation of the title. You should not exceed 50 characters in length, and it must be typed in capital letters. The running head sometimes can also be the same as your header. Aside from that, you now have the title of the proposal and then your author's name and qualifications. So if you are running a PhD and you have earned the first degree or master somewhere, it is expected that you indicate that there. After that, in every good research proposal, you must have an introduction. Professor Makun the other time briefly talked about what introduction is. For us, we believe that introduction is a brief, integrated summary of the findings of previous research. Because the introduction must be able to explain the key concepts in the title, the variables, and the ideas you are trying to convey to the audience or your proposed audience. Don't make a personal case, and that's what most of us try to do from my experience. No. Make the intellectual case for doing the research, for wanting to do that research. Don't make a personal case. You can use personal case to elucidate what you are saying. But your case should arise from intellectual, it should be on intellectual basis. That's the literature, things you have seen that have not been done or that have been done that have not been effective, that you are thinking that what you are doing in an innovative way will bring to bear on new pathways or frontiers to expand what has been done. And in this case, you can cite and you can give statistics or contextual information that will be able to justify the position you are trying to build. Also, in your introduction, it is expected that in that proposal, you do or you give a rationale for wanting to do that research. You have to be consistent. The kind of rationale that you give to consistently and steadily lead to a statement of the aims of your research and to the hypothesis. Some people will ask, what is aim? What is hypothesis? Your aims are broad. What you want to achieve, what you think that study can achieve. Not necessarily measurable. It can be something you want, you see it in another 10 years, that this study will contribute this way. You are aiming that it can be so, that it will be an evergreen study. But specifically, what you want to achieve, and that's what your hypothesis will help you to delineate. And that has to be specific and measurable. Or like in your aims that can be broad or nebulous. You can, at the point of introduction, also give or espouse theories, theoretical matters that are pertinent to your research. But it's not a place where you begin to do theoretical explanations like you have in the under the literature review. No. But there are some theories that are very fundamental, very key to explaining your background. At this point, you can also mention it and integrate it in your introduction. Once your introduction is fine, it will normally, naturally, dovetail into your statement of the problem. State the problem. What students do at times, most postgraduate students turn the state of the problem to another literature review or into another introduction. No. At the level of stating the purpose, you are just stating it. Even though there are no universal templates for writing purpose statements, but one thing that is universally agreed is that your statement must be written clearly, unambiguously, and concisely. It must be succinct, because you are stating the problem. It must not be ambiguous in any way. And statements can be qualitative or quantitative. You can have qualitative and quantitative purpose statements. You know, the two are not written in the same manner. Quantitative studies, if you are embarking on quantitative studies, you know, quantitative studies usually would clearly describe the variables that will be investigated. But when it comes to qualitative studies, it will only acknowledge the emerging nature of the questions or the topic you are interrogating. And why is it that it's an emerging one? The researcher should explain that as this study progresses, if there are new developments, the topic can still be tinkered with. The variable can still be tinkered with. The questions you have raised, you know, remember I say proposal, you have not started. But you can start and there will be new developments in that area you are researching into. You have to incorporate it. You cannot say because you have started it, therefore, it cannot be part of what you want to do. It's a qualitative study. And that's why, right in your proposal, you would have stated it there. That this study, it is contemporary. People are interrogating it. So as this one goes on, if there are things that showcases itself, that sounds novel, you might be tinkering with the question, you may be adding, you may be deleting depending on the new knowledge that evolves. It will have been stated at the issue in your proposal. So by the time you go on with the work and you tell your supervisor, sir, there are some emerging themes in this area we are investigating. I want to add this. You cannot say no, you cannot introduce it. You will remind him, please get my proposal. It's there, sir. And you cite authorities to back it up. You will joyfully or she will joyfully say, okay, go on. And then every good research proposal must have literature review. Probably I've talked about literature review, but there is an aspect we would like to talk to you about, which many of us don't do. How many of us is sincere? Hello? Are we here? Even those joining online. Please, if you are registered with our library to access our library, e-resources, do like this. In this hall, only one person. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. At least we have about 8 out of those of us sitting. Those online, I don't know if the ICT can help us. Don't know how many numbers, but don't worry. But what I'm saying, statistically, is that less than 10% of our students are registered with our library. And I can tell you for free, DBC Academics is here. As the Director of Quality Assurance for this university, I am privileged to know that the time we're doing accreditation of some programs in the last few months, that this university has the best, one of, if not the best in Nigeria, in terms of electronic library. And I say that for free because these were things said by NUC accreditation teams for more than 25 programs. Again, they said in our university we don't even have half of it. We are subscribed to some of the best databases you can think of in the world. And you are here, you are paying school fees, you are not taking advantage. You are struggling to use your own phone to go on Google. You are not doing something serious. You are a PhD student, and all you do is go to Google until you can find literature. You are wasting your time. If you are a master's student, you are wasting your time. When you want to do research review, please, I beg of you. This university pays millions every year for books, electronic books. The strength of this university, when people come, when NUC team comes for accreditation, is that we are proud to always showcase that we are one of the best, if not the best in Nigeria. And you want to find out, please, feel free when after this presentation to go to the library and see. So if you want to do literature review as a postgraduate student, the first place to start is the library. And you don't have to go there wondering. No. When you get to the library, please ask for a man called or woman called reference librarian. Let's go there. That's a reference librarian. The reference librarian will ask you, which area do you want to research into? You know, it's a proposal. And as soon as you give him or her the things, he will tell you, how many do you want? That the thing you have chosen to work on, there are over 1 million books in the last 5 years. You know, that subject area. Google won't give you that. It won't. So, we are encouraging you that in writing your research proposal, please know that you are expected to do an overview of published journal articles, records, books, documents, and other professional work that's related to your topic. And you can get all this for free. And that's the most interesting part of Hello free. And when you get to the library, you will also be given the link. So you don't have to come here. So in the comfort of your homes, you can access this library as soon or as long as you are connected to the net. How many of us don't take such advantage? And remember, in your literature, particularly your empirical research and articles and your theoretical articles, make sure that what you are reviewing does not go beyond 5 years, except where or what you are talking about has to do with theoretical expositions. Even if it is 1770, you are allowed to use that. But apart from things that are theoretical in nature, you are expected to cite only research that are conducted within the last 5 years. And why is that so at the point of proposal? Because your work is expected to take at least 3 years minimum as a full-time student and 4 years as a part-time student. So it means that before you finish, some of those situations would have even become what? Outdated. And you are expected, and that's why PhD work, particularly PhD work, is reviewed periodically. It's not over until it is over. Even the day you do your oral, the panel of the examiner can still say, go and do this, go and do that. But if at the point of proposal, you are already using literatures that were used during Mongo Park's time, people cited literature 1970, 1980, 1990, 2010, 2015, we are in 2024. It means that by the time you even start the work is already what? Archaic. So please make sure that you cite recent, relevant, and contemporary literature. And that will take us to research hypothesis. Irrespective of the faculty that you have, the hypothesis is cited either using the norm or their alternate means. Of course, the null hypothesis is when you state your hypothesis, in enough form, and then proposing that your findings, whether dispute, whether confirm or negate what you have done. Or you cite your hypothesis if there is a faculty that allows that, you state it in concrete form and not, and then hoping that what you find out will negate it. For experimental causal comparative correlational studies, hypothesis should always be accompanied by operational definition of those variables, because this will indicate how those variables are manipulated. Even though in some faculties, you have operational definition of terms separately. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying break that into your hypothesis, no. But you must state it so that you already know where you are going. But in all types of qualitative research, such as case studies, historical research, and the likes, research questions, particularly foreshadowed note kind of questions, which are not your actual questions, but we call them foreshadowed questions because they are also questions that will help to accentuate your research very well when you start, because they will help you to guide you in terms of the interview you want to conduct, and of course if it's an observational technique that you want to use to collect your data, such foreshadowed question will also help. As soon as you are done with your, wow, okay, sorry, the time seems to be very fast, so sorry. So I think I've just gone through. Now let's go to methodology. Now, in every research proposal, the methodology is very important. And the methodology is, what do you want to do? How do you want to do it? Participants, what is the nature and characteristics of the subjects? Average age, their gender and so on. The number of people that will participate, or it's an experimental study that involves animals. How many animals? How many research assistants are you going to be using? Or what you call proctors? Are you going to pay them or not? I've stated all of this. Then your apparatus and materials, equipment, instruments. How many activities to be completed? How do you record participants' responses? Then the instrument you want to use, are they standardized instruments? Or are they self-developed instruments? If they are self-developed, are you going to ensure psychometric properties of the instruments? Or what are you going to do? You must also determine the research setting in your proposal. It's very important. Where will you get the data from? What will participants actually do during the research questions? And very importantly, remember, ethical use that may occur or that may be required. Issues relating to confidentiality, disclosure, informed consent, then offering inducement alone. Let me just quickly explain that, offering inducement. Sometimes when we conduct research, some of us offer inducement to our participants. But when it comes to writing the research report later, we will not mention it. Even though globally, you are not expected to offer inducement. But again, when you offer inducement, as long as the inducement that you have offered would not likely affect the outcome of the study that you are conducting, it is allowed. But not that you will not write, I bought them Coke, so that you will not run away. I bought biscuit and I gave them rice. No. There are better ways you can say bad things. We all know that attrition rates could happen. It could happen even faster. But there are things you can do, token reinforcement, without them everything necessarily have to be money. Then, in your research proposal, it's very important in your methodology that you mention how you want to analyze the result that you get. Which statistical tool are you going to be using? And at what level of significance are you going to accept the results? What are the estimated dates and budget? Finally, what are the benefits, limitations, and reflections of the research you intend to conduct? It's very important. Many of us, when we do our proposal, we just don't even bother about it. Because remember that in the research report, there are two areas that these benefits normally shows. One, significance of the study. Two, contribution to knowledge. There are just two subheadings in the research report. So in your proposal, right from the beginning, mention the likely benefits of that your intended study. How will the study advance knowledge for practice and for what? For policy making. And you should include summary of the possible implications of your findings. Also, state in your proposal the likely limitations that the study may have in terms of methodology, methodological limitations and possible criticism. Not that there will be no money to go and conduct the result and research. I don't have money to enter transport. No, those are not the kind of limitations we are talking about. But you should talk about the methodological and possible criticism. When you look at most findings, there is no finding that has been cast in iron. And that is why it can endure for a long time. But in view of new findings, old knowledge becomes what? Moribund. And always remember that you are also supposed to give references. Please, in your research proposal, references is very important. If you have consulted literature, please cite the references. And this university, I think the APA 7th edition is what you should cite. And then finally, in your research proposal, you should please attach appendices. It's very important. If there are researcher developed tools that you would be doing or you'll be making use of, the time to mention them or include them is now. You put them at the back. Each appendix should also be given a letter lapel. Let me conclude by saying that as a postgraduate student, you might get frustrated, mad as hell, short-tempered with your spouse, kids and pets as you write your proposal. Because the job is tasking, but you will overcome. Eventually you will have a draft narrative. Set it aside for a few days. Go back and read it so that it makes sense. Subject it to Grammarly check online. Check for typos and internal consistencies. Inconsistencies. Once you do that, you will have seen that you have done a good job of a research proposal. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention.
Of a university of this greatness, you know what it means. The oratorial skill is there, the competence, the capacity, the intellectual entrepreneurship is very well embedded in it. Put your hands together for our former student union president of Olabisi Okote University and now Olabisi Onabanjo University. We are proud to have you in our midst, just as we are proud of every other resource person here. Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we now move to the next topic here, which is of course the use of language. Our grammarians, the resource person to give us what we call use of language in research work, Dr. T.O. Olayemi, please. Dr. Olayemi, please. Thank you very much. She's very much around here.
I should say that I'm sorry I had to attend to an emergency. I'm very sorry. I say good afternoon to the principal officers, our professors in the house, and all resource persons seated, and of course our PG students. Thank you very much for having me here. I'll be speaking to the slides. Okay, thank you. And as you know, at this time we'll be talking about the use of language in research activities. And this is a very important, a very vital aspect of your research, the use of language. Let's go to the first slide. There's something about that I want to start with. You can see a very beautiful girl. Beautiful, look at her face, her frame. Okay. Very beautiful, you can see her, but she's dressed in rags. And I want to say that language is the dress of our thoughts. And so no matter how wonderful, how beautiful your ideas are, if you dress them in rags, I talk about the language with which you express your thoughts, your opinions, your emotions, your feelings, and that which you want to the language with which you express yourself is very important. So you may be saying something very good, but you dress it up in rags, and so nobody gets to reach what exactly it is you're saying. And so you may be busy carrying out a research that no one is able to reach. And that's why language plays a very important role in whatever we do. I've decided to use that picture to let you know that you have a role to play in the way you put together your ideas, put together your thoughts, put together your works, the organization, and the language with which you dress your thoughts. And that's why I've said something very important there. Sow it well. Language is a very important aspect of your research activities, and you shouldn't address your thoughts in rags. Your language is raggish. Permit me to use that word. Then you need a tailor to fix it. And most often people come about, looking for editors. I've done that over and over all of my life. I'm still doing that. But I've discovered that you can do a lot yourself too. There are so many things you could do by yourself. You don't have to be a language expert to be able to do that. There are some little things you could fix. And you're not fixing them because you believe that at the end of the day you push it to the editor. And of course, if you don't have an editor that is careful, that is that knows what exactly you are doing and is willing to help and is willing to, I don't want to talk too much. If you have editors who are just after the money and they flip through the pages and put a full stop here, a comma there, and then they run over 2-3 pages, they don't even look at that, they go to the next chapter. You'll be glad that you've been to an editor, but the work may be returned to you poorer than it was. So that's why you have to get to fix things yourself. At this level, there are things you could do by yourself without even having to be in the Department of English. I have seen a lot of people who have not been into the department. I mean, they have not been such a good, somebody just ran, I think about 2-3 weeks, I can't remember now ago, someone told me that I had taught them GLS about 13 years ago, and he was trying to say that they were arguing at that time over whether we have good afternoons or good afternoon. And I said, okay, that was 13 years ago. What would you have to say now? Can we have good afternoons? And then he said some of his colleagues were saying then that since there are many people involved, so that, the afternoons, does it have to go around? Then you have to say thank yous too, when you have a lot of people, thank you, thank you, thank you. Just like people will laugh over when you say I'm grateful, and then someone will say I'm great, I'll come back and bring the food later. Like, there are rules. When you break them, you make yourself a source of mockery, ridicule, and people laugh about it, and it tells on your integrity. And someone who is a PhD holder, someone who is a PhD holder, is a respectable academic of some sort. You may not be a lecturer, but you have romanced with the academic world, and it's expected that the academic world has passed through you. And when you talk, you're representing the university who gave you that degree. So you have to represent us well, everywhere you go. So don't shout that you have to learn to relate with. And then, in the next slide, I'm talking about words, okay? You need words to express yourself, okay? So you need to choose your words carefully. You need to choose your word carefully. When I came in from a class, I had to rush down here again, calling me again somewhere, and I said, let me finish this. There are so many things to do. Now, words. When I came in, I heard Professor Oscar talking about you writing a proposal and you're already using a past tense. It's a proposal. And I've seen that too with some of our students. Thank God those things don't go out just like that. And we wouldn't even allow those things to go out like that. Okay, so if it is a proposal, you've not even started and there is a past tense. And there are people also, when they have done their pre-field or conversion examination, where they are expected to be saying this in this research, certain things will be done, will. When they come for their post-field presentations, you know what they do? They still bring back the will. And then when they finish, we say, there's no need coming here. What are we doing here? You are here to start. Because you are telling us that you will still go and do something. So you need to go back to the field. And they look at us and say, what are we saying? And someone looks at you and says, you want the candidate to fail. No. We don't want you to fail, but you told us that you are yet to get to the field. So you have lied to us, giving us a post-field report. You caused it. So you can see the problem that language can cause. Just like language can mend fences, language can reconcile people. The same way to language can scatter people. So language can make your thesis or merit. Okay? So you are working with words and you have to choose your words carefully. I have seen a lot of these expressions, opine that, so, opine that. Every page, especially in that chapter 2 where you have the review of related literature or literature review, opine that, and then it gives me headache. On a page you have about 6 of that, the next page 5 of that, and then somebody says avert that, and another one says no, avert that, and there is a quarrel between whether it is avert or averse, and you see them, they bring it to us. Thank God that we have editors. We have a lot of them who are working hard. So there are ways you can say the same thing in different ways. These are things you can fix for yourself. Instead of saying Olayemi and Avuaja, opine that. You can say explored certain things. You may not even use the that. There are ways you may not even say that. They said that, they said that. And they are datializing. Thank you, Provost. I think you actually understand what I'm trying to say. And there is a way it makes the work so dry and unappealing. And yet you have so many things to say. In this university, I'm proud to stand before you to say that we have produced a lot of PhD students who have done research that can change our world. I, as a person myself, have been affected by many of the research works that I have read in this university. And so we are working. If you are not going to allow the world to benefit from what you are doing, then write your thesis anyhow. But I thank God that this university is not going to allow you. And that's why we are doing it. We're putting a lot of mechanisms in place to check that. Even if you say no, this is how you want it. I was spoken to him and he was spoken back to me when I told him, we come and told you that that is not correct. Okay? And that's why we're here. And that is going to make your work beautiful. Your name is going to be on it. And of course the name of this noble university. So the words you need, you need to choose your work. Be creative. You don't need to get to a department of literature, like English language and literature, to know how to be creative. Those of you who are men, sorry, with due respect, I know you know how to drive cars. You can drive a lot of cars, different kinds of cars. You can maneuver. If you can do that with your cars, you can do that with language. I always say this to women too. If you know how to prepare amala very well, and it will be very smooth, smooth and appealing to the heart, then you can also do your work that way. You are not, nobody's a non-entity. Creativity can be there. You can say the same thing in different ways. Okay? Now, recently, I decided to bring out some of the examples I've found. I'm not going to mention names, and I hope some of those people are not here. But I feel that if I'm talking about English usage, I should be talking about my experience on the job as an editor. And I've seen recently, just about 2 weeks ago, somebody wanted to write he wanted to write suburb. He was talking about, I think I say that, you may be thinking about who the person is, and then the person that is not the person will come back and say it's me they are talking about, and then the person that is actually the person will not know that she's actually the person I was talking about, and then the person that does not know that she's not the one will say it's the one, and there'll be a problem. So let me not give you links, hints that will help you know the person. But that person was actually talking about some township areas, and what she needs is suburb. But that person wrote S-U-B, is it on the board? H-U-B, which is completely a departure from the intention. Completely a departure from, no, go back. Don't let them look at what I have ahead now. You are showing them everything. All right, okay, just go back. I thought I wrote it somewhere. Not here. Okay? At the beginning now. Thank you very much. Okay, the comfort, that is it. Okay, and we have a lot. Okay, the saying collaborate is hidden, but it's there. If you put the cursor there, it will bring it forward. So we have words. Somebody wanted to say collaborate, and he said corroborate. So you wanted to say corroborated something, sorry. He said collaborated the fact that, somebody can say something and you are trying to strengthen what he said. That word is corroborate. But, there's a way that we just hear these words, we're not actually careful about them, and we just believe that we know them. And so when we write carelessly, we just put them there. No checking, no pausing to see whether is this. So there are words like that could bring up problems. If you check the meanings of suburb and suburb there, you will see that they are not the same. They are not even pronounced the same way. But that person did that, and that marred the meaning and the logicality of the discourse on that very page. Language is very important. And everyone who has spoken to you here today, and who will still speak to you, has used and will use what? Language. And now, what language? What language? They are not answering me now. What language? Which means that with all deep sense of humility, I'm the most important person here today. Is that true? No, what I mean is that English is the You understand what I mean? So language is very important. There is no language that is relegated to the background. But one thing I've come, let me quickly chip in this as before I move to the next slide. What I've come to see is that we have a generation of students who are members of two communities and citizens of none. And it's reflecting in what they write to give to us. Your own generation is different from this Gen Z, this generation that they have steez their high. You don't even know those things. If you know, you would have been laughing. That's what they are saying now, steez me high, But when they write, it seems like the way they talk is the way they write. I was like, why are you there? She was like, wow. And I was like, wow, I was like, and then sometimes I was like, and if you are not careful, if you are also mimicking that mannerism, when you settle down to do some real serious formal writing, those I was like, as in, they will be filtering into your thoughts and affecting the pattern of your writing. Now, at our own level, our own is not I was like, as in, our own is, you know the answer, you don't know. You are looking at me far. I've seen people, they say, Shebi, you said I should come in the morning. And I said, Abi, I said so. And I call it Shebi Abi signals in one of my papers. It's common. Even today, if you had recorded yourself, you would have seen that you have said, Shebi, we said we are meeting at 10. This resounding oh at the end, I don't like it oh. Don't do that to me oh. Those things will be affecting your thinking and writing. And that's why you are very slow at writing, and sometimes you don't even know how to get started, and sometimes you are helpless, and you feel that you don't even know anything when you are loaded. So this is very important. My time is up. Alright, okay, thank you. So choose your appropriately. Choose your words. There are homophones. Homophones are words that sound alike. Phone, homophones, homophones. And that word collaborate I gave you the other time and corroborate, they are not homophones, but to second language learners of English, they are near, I call them, I mean 2013 or so, call them near homophones, and they affect us. And there are some other ones we see around, they are not actually pronounced the same way. When I say session, and I say section, they are not the same. And somebody will say, but I was here last section. Which of the sections? Section or session? And then it will be correcting you. No, section man, I was here. And we'll take it easy. We may not even bother to explain to that person that this is supposed to be session. SESSION. So there are a lot of words like that. That's why I said you should choose your word carefully. Now slide 5, mind your tense. There's no way we can tell you everything here. So this is just like a guide. So I expect that when you get back, you sit down and try to develop yourself with words. The dictionary is there to help, honestly. It's the best resource you can have. And then on our phones too, we have a lot of facilities. There is this show me word I've talked to my students about. I've talked to a lot of teachers in secondary schools in the past 2-3 months. Show me word. Show me word. When you get onto your Google and you type in that, you'll see that it gives you the pronunciation, it gives you the meaning, it tells you British pronunciation, it tells you American pronunciation, it defines and tells you usage. It's very rich too, on the phone. So we have a lot of facilities that were not available in those days. They are now available. So you can make use of them to better your writing. So mind your tense too. Tenses are very important. What Professor Oscar was talking about the other time, that you're writing in the past. It's when you're writing a report that you write in the past. In the past. She was coming when I saw him. Now she's coming when I saw him. You obeyed the rule. Here, you disobeyed the rule here, and that masks the entire sentence. She was coming when I saw him. Now, there are issues around when it comes to research activities and formal writing. There are issues around that. It is expected that if it is a report, it should be in the past tense. Olayemi 2019 explained that the students are fond of, but then you have the freedom to also report in the simple present, because that work is not dead, it's alive. The works that have been written by authors who are no more they are still alive. And in that regard, you can say, you can mention the author's name and use the simple present tense. But the issue is that you have to be consistent. And that's it. You have to be consistent. If you have chosen to write your report, your research, using the simple present, you have to be consistent. And you have to if you want to stick to the past, you also have to be consistent. But the problem is this is what I have discovered, and I just advise those who are using, who are confused. I tell them to stick to the past tense because it's easier. This issue of he, she, it, you may not understand what I'm talking about. He, she, it will take his. It's a song I have composed for my students, even at this level, university. But you and I, we and they will never take S in the simple present tense. When you look at your personal pronouns, he goes, she, it may be elementary, but it's going to also help you understand some complex things, okay? So it's not as if I'm addressing you as if you're a nursery and primary school pupil. No, but there are some little things that the brighter grammar will tell you that will help you to understand what that teacher is saying in syntax class at 400 level. And I've seen people, when you recommend to them brighter grammar, they are ashamed to show the world that they are reading it. And that brighter grammar series can change your grammar positively. So, he, she, it. When you have an author that is one, you say he explains, he submits that. Now, when there are two authors, Olayemi and Avoaja explained. Now, that's past. But if it is not past, what would it be? And then you still go and put the heads there because it sounds so sweet to the mouth. Olayemi and Avoaja explains that, just like my students will run after me and say, excuse me, man, you seems to be our GNS teacher. You seems. And the way she will say it, if you are not careful, you will say, this is a very good, she's very good at speaking English. You seems. And then I ask myself, seems again. Where? You understand? So there are rules about it. And it's only the third person singular pronouns in English. He, she, and it. And they are noun equivalent. That's what some of our teachers don't tell us, and so we get confused. And they are noun equivalent. If it is Olayemi, that is she, so it will take S. But if it is Olayemi and Avoaja, that is they, so it will not take S. So they, we, and I don't take S, but he, she, and it will take S. So you don't take S. So you can say you seems. And don't forget, we are able to maneuver because in our research report, we are not expected to be using I at this level. In this research, I or we, sometimes you just come up and you're saying I and we. And we ask you when you're doing your presentation, you and who. So you didn't do this job on your own. We. So be careful. All right. There are other things that could lead you to. But let's talk again about the. Okay, I've talked about that. About the tense. Slide 6. Wordiness. Wordiness. That's another feature that I found in her writings. Wordiness. You know what I mean? You are saying. There are some people, they see themselves as orators, and so they just believe that once they take the pen, they just keep on writing, keep on writing, keep on writing. There are some things that can go on in your speech, but that we won't have space for them in writing. That's why there's a difference between writing and talking or speaking. So you need to be very careful. You have to say what you want to say in as few words as possible. In fact, by the time you start using too many words, I have an example. I got this from somebody's, I will not mention names, so you don't even know the person, but everything you see here, I got them from someone's work, and I still have a load of them on my laptop. Somebody said, interpersonal relationship with people. Is there anything wrong with that? If you look at it very well, is there anything wrong with that? Okay, if you look at it, when I say lérefe, tó o bá wò ó lérefe, ǹjẹ́ o lè rí ohun kan níbẹ̀ yẹn tó mẹ́hẹ? If you look at it closely, can you see anything that is out of place? Interpersonal relationship with people? Can anyone help us? I've been talking. It's your turn to talk. And I don't want anybody who is from the Department of English or anywhere, teaching English anywhere. I saw your hand first. Please, could you come forward? Personal relationship with people. What is, okay, I saw your hand. Okay, there can't be relationship without people.
Yes.
But there can be relationship among dogs and you are giving us another complicated. This is language. In this context. Thank you.
I think interpersonal relationship can stand alone, still meaning that with people has been included in that two words there.
Oh, I feel like giving you 100 naira or so.
Interpersonal relationship can stand alone.
Thank you. I already told you the answer. You know I elected people. So good people, because you said interpersonal. So you are saying too many things, and at the end of the day, you have your pages filled up. Okay, there's not actually give me 200 naira. The provost said I should come forward for it, so that it doesn't appear as if I'm lying. Thank you, provost, for bailing me out. Come for, is it because it's 100 naira you're not running? Thank you. Thank you, provost. So I'm free. All right. So look at it. Look at some of the other examples. For the purpose of. When you say for the purpose of, that would be what? This thing is done for the purpose of. That's just one two-letter word that will be okay. And what's that? It's done for the purpose of. It's done for. Isn't it? To do something, to be able to achieve something. In order to can also be the last word there, to. And then as a result of can be because. There's so many like that. There's so many. So you can say what you want to say, especially in the abstract section of your work. We have seen a lot of, we call them extraneous items. Extraneous, have you heard about that before? Now you are taking that away if you have not. Extraneous items, they are redundant, they're not needed. You could still be saying something meaningful without them, so you don't need them, send them off. Okay, so check for those ones. Now, I want to talk about spellings. Okay, let me talk about ambiguous, that's like now 7. Ambiguous and vague expressions. There are ambiguous and vague expressions. Ambiguous expressions are expressions that have more than one interpretation. More than one interpretation. It means that you can interpret it this way and then it will be correct. And then you also interpret it this way and it's also correct. And so there's a problem. Which of the ways should I go? And that's why I came up with unintended meanings in writings, in some of my papers, about 2 or 3 of them. Unintended. A few minutes more. Thank you, sir. Unintended meanings. Okay, so don't say what you don't intend to say. You will be creating problem for yourself if you do. So, but vague expressions, you know, on the one hand, ambiguous expressions, more than one interpretation, then vague expressions are those expressions that lack specificity in terms of meaning. No specified meaning. Lack of precision in terms of meaning. No precise, you cannot say exactly this is what this person is saying. And there are some people like that. They know what they are saying in their minds. And that's why some of them, when they present orally, they are very wonderful. But when you look at what they have written, you look at the person, you look at the work. You look at the person, you look at the work. He's actually saying the right thing, but he has written the wrong thing. Or he has written something that is not exactly what he's saying. Okay, so we need to be very careful with that. Look at this expression on the board. It took interest in me. I saw it in the acknowledgement section now of one of the theses. Should I talk about? I've already talked about it. It took interest in me as a student as well as his staff. He was trying to recognize someone and to praise him, to thank him for what he has done in his life. And he said, he took interest in me as a student as well as his staff. Who is the student? Who is the staff? Who is the he? Is it that that person took interest in me when he was a student and also a staff? Or he took interest in me when I was a student and I became a staff? And then there is a problem, there's an as that is also missing. He took interest in me as a student as well as a staff. That's where the problem came. So you can avoid this entirely and follow another route to say the same thing. There are some expressions like that that are very devilish. You don't know what to do with them. Then you show them and say what you want to say in another way. If you need to use two simple sentences, why not? Okay, so the next slide, wrong spellings. That one is also very common. And you can see when I showed it. When you can use a lot of facilities to correct your spelling, you still have your wrong spellings in your final thesis. That's not too good. That's not too good. We were in an oral presentation. I won't tell you where. And this student was presenting, and there was this particular word. There was this particular word that was recurring in his or her work, in her or his work, or in she's work. So I put it two together. But don't go and say that. Don't go and say that. Okay, there was this expression, and she was not spelling it well. All through, she didn't spell it well all through the pages. And that's not too good. If I say it, you may want to know the person, so let me not say it. So watch out for such expressions. Now, sometimes when you talk, you can talk the way you like. Nobody's going to jail you for that. You are the owner of your mouth. But when you write and submit for academic purpose, no, we are all interested. So you can say, for instance, what is going on now, there are no tomatoes. Some say tomato, some say tomatoes. You don't even know what, so you just say tomato this morning, and in the afternoon you say tomato. You understand? But there are rules about that too, but let's not talk about that one today. Now, in place of tomato, then you get to know. It's not that tomato is also not correct, but maybe having to do with American and British. So, in place of tomato, now we are using, and you say it is cucumber. Nobody will jail you for that. Cuckoo shaking cucumber. Whereas it is cucumber. Okay? Now, where am I going? Sometimes the way you pronounce that word affects the way you write it. So that's why you write definition. You write DEFINATION and say it is definition. Instead of definition, nation, not nation, because that one is name. Okay? So there are times when what you say affects what you write. And sometimes, look at some spellings on the board, maintenance. Some of them don't even exist. You don't have maintain and the nouns, but you have the ENANCE. Yes, you have maintain, and from that word, you have a noun, maintenance, the same thing with sustenance. And look at the word disrupt. There's no T, and you believe that disrupt should have a T because it is the beginning of destroy. No. So what do you pronounce? So most of the time too, I have to hurry up now. Most of the time too, what you say affects, let's go to the next slide, sir. What you say affects what you write, and you need to also be very careful. Let's talk about your sentences too. They are very important. Your sentences, be very careful. Sentences can be too long. Okay, look at this. The last time you came here, Professor Labide mentioned that to you. The girl that is, okay, I have one here. It's not on the board, but let me read it to you. The boy sitting by the window with a red cap beside the tall boy near the door. Oh, 1 minute more, 1 minute more. So be very careful so that your sentences are not too long. Some sentences can also be hanging, and then you put a full stop there, you have not said anything. The sentences are hanging, okay? And some sentences can be very meaningless and not focused. Then, composing your thesis title, I felt I should just quickly talk about that. I have seen a lot of cliche expressions in thesis titles. The impact of, the impact of, an assessment of, an analysis of. Well, where we cannot avoid them, we must use them. But there are also some research title topics that can be modified without using effect. And that's where the conjunction and comes in. Okay, there's no time for me to talk about that. But if there's anything I want to talk about, I want to say that there are certain things you should not say. Move to slide 13, please. Certain things you should not say when you do your presentation. You know now, you are thinking about writing. Now, when you present, you stand before a panel to present your work. And then you don't even know the title very well. You start from the end of the title and then to the beginning. It shows there is a problem. Now, not only that, when you say, I think, that's your final defense, oral defense. And you're saying, I think it should be that I wrote them down, I've written some down from our seminars, I'm trying to do something with them, so I won't tell you all of them. But don't say, I think it should be. It is taking that, no, you have done a research and you have findings. The final slide now, you have a question to answer. There is a question you must answer. Please go to the last one, sir. And as I leave now, I ask you this question. At the end of time, your thesis, is it going to be a message to the world or a mess? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can we appreciate the last speaker on the use of language?
Yeah, good afternoon, Deputy Vice Chancellor, the Dean, Faculty of Basic Medical Science, Provost, and every other distinguished member on the high table. I shall be talking about importance of sources and reference. I believe my slide should come up now. And I will use the first 10 minutes to address the slide, and I will use the next 20 minutes after that to demonstrate how we can actually use reference tool to make things easier for us. So, the outline, we're talking about citation. I'm talking about citation, reference, bibliography, citation styles, then we'll talk about tools for managing citation. I will now focus on one of these management tools, which is known as Zotero. So, what is citation? A citation is a way of giving credit when materials that are used in one's work came from other sources. So, they also give readers the information necessary to find out the source that has been used or the source that was used. So when do we cite? When do we cite? We cite whenever quotes are used, whenever paraphrases are used, whenever an idea that someone else has already used, when we are using it, we have to cite that person. You have to acknowledge that person, that you have gotten that work. The work is not yours, but rather is from someone else. We also cite whenever someone else's idea or someone else has been critical in developing our own ideas. You have based what you have done on someone else's work. So you need to cite that person. You need to acknowledge that person. So in summary, we give citation, we do citation to give, one, credit, two, to add strength and authority to our work, and also to place our work in a specific context, and finally, to leave a trail for other scholars. So if somebody wants to actually see what you have done and where you have gotten your information from, it can be traced back. So now let's look at citation, references, and bibliography. And these are three words. Citation is what you get. Citation tells the reader where the information came from. Where the information you have used, where you got it from, is citation in your writing. And reference list is the detailed list of references that are cited in your work. At the end of your work, you have a list of all the references that you have cited in your work. While bibliography is also similar to reference, but in this case, it will include some works you have read, you've come across, but you did not cite. So that is those are the differences. So in general, a bibliography should include, one, the author's name, the title of the work, the name and location of the company that published the work, and also the date must be there, and the page number. So those are what you have in bibliography. So we have citation styles. Citation styles. So I've listed there some of the most common citation styles. We have the American Medical Association style, American Political Science Association style. Then we have the down to Elsevier, IEEE. Then you have Nature, and then you have Vancouver. All these styles, all these styles have their ways of, they have their different styles. All these citations, they have their different styles. So also, the next slide gives example of those different styles. For example, the American Chemical Society. If you look at it, the first number is the citation, which is number 1, and the next number, which starts with 1, is your reference. So that's going to be when you reference. And the second one is American Medical Association, 11th edition. While you are citing, you put 1 or 2 according to how you have cited. Then at the end of the reference, that's how it is written. Sometimes, in this case, because it's more than 3 names, you have the first name, second name, third name, and followed by a third. In some cases, you have all the full names are written. So all these styles, they have their own different way of but in OOU, which I'm much aware, we use the American Psychological Association 7th edition, which is the APA. In this case, you cite, you put the name of the first author and other author. If there are more than 3, if it is just one person, you put the name. If there are 2, you put those 2 names, like Olayemi and about that, if I remember the name very well. And in this case, because we are more than 3, you put Mosoro Eto. And you also notice that where the date, the years in those styles, some they are different. Some come after the name, some come at the end of the whole sentence. So it depends on the style you are using. But like I said here, in OU, we use the APA, which is 7. So the second, and 3 other slides that follows talks about gives example of all these citation style. Now, citation management tools. This is where our interest actually is. Citation management tools. There are a great variety of commercial and non-commercial tools available in the market today. So some you pay for, some are free. And fortunately today we have many of them that are free that you can use to manage your citation. So what you will choose depends on how you are used to it, or what you are used to, and what you do. So example of this EndNote. EndNote is commercial. You pay for EndNote. Mendeley is free. RefWork is free. Zotero is free. Some of these citation generation, they are free. So, and the one you choose depends on is a personal interest. So, but there are some things that are in one that are not in other. So if you look at the following slide, this has explained, we are comparing between EndNote, Mendeley, and Zotero. There are some things that are available in Zotero that are not available in Mendeley, some that are not available in EndNote. So let's talk about Zotero. I am more familiar with Zotero. I am not saying EndNote is better than Mendeley, or Zotero is better than EndNote. And there's also referencing in Microsoft Word. You can use Microsoft Word directly if we know how to use it to do our auto-referencing. So Zotero. So the emphasis is going to be on Zotero in this talk. This is where I will need to switch to this other side of the table, because I will use the next 15-20 minutes to actually practicalize how we can cite using Zotero. It's a very simple tool and something we can learn within that 15-20 minutes and we can know. So I will use that this time. Mr. Yusuf.
Been asked regarding the topics that have been presented so far today, starting from basis of research, literature review, developing and presenting research proposal, use of language, and of course the last but not the least is the importance of sources and references. Thank you very much. Question time. Can we raise up our hands, and those of us online should post the question for further necessary action. Thank you very much. Question. Can we raise up our hands?
Move forward.
Okay. So that's question 1. Any other person? 2. Question 1, please.
My question is that I think is to Professor Oscar. So I want to ask that when with respect to research question and research hypothesis, is there any point or what will prompt the decision that somebody will decide that research question is better for this particular work, or it is research hypothesis that is better? Or is there anything that will prompt the decision that, okay, when you are conducting social study, this and that, you should use research question and hypothesis together? So I would appreciate an explanation on that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Professor, I'm sure you're taking note of that. Thank you, sir. Now, literature for a particular research. Is that all, sir?
Yeah, that's
yes, the other lady. Next person.
Standing on the existing protocol, I have a question, and it's about when you go on the field and people ask you for funds and things like that, and because you don't want it to affect your work, or you know that if once somebody just tell you, I'm hungry, I will see you tomorrow, and you know that you can't come back tomorrow, you need that information. So you have to like give them, but you don't want to also say that it's not going to affect, but if you don't give them that money, it will affect you. But then my second one is about the e-library. Honestly, I hear it a lot, but each time I try to, in fact, there was a time I was really looking up. I got those materials, I got there, and he told me my institution would give me access. I came to the library, I saw someone, I can't remember the person's name now. But the thing is, I don't know if it's been upgraded, but I couldn't really access those books. So I want to be sure that if you get there, and because I really tried, the last time that I was here, we were told about those things, so it kind of blew my mind up. So all these bits are there. But I found out that just putting on my matric number and everything, I got to a stage, but I could not access those materials. Thank you very much.
I'm Mr. Abdusalam Adigun from Religious Studies Department. All right, sir. Okay, sir. It's on writing proposal. I want to ask if it is allowed to use simple present. So because of writing proposal, simple present.
Tense.
Yes, present tense, to use it when writing proposal. The second thing is that I came across an idea of a writer. So it says that using the word very is not good enough to be used. That there's always a word that will be appropriate for describing the idea for which a person is or wants to use the word very. So I want to ask if that is correct or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person there. Any other person?
I've been online listening to this program. I'm appreciative of the management for setting up this kind of program for us. My question is about population of the study and sample determination. For how can I determine a sample of a study of a population that cannot be determined? Let's say I want my study to be on Okada riders in Djibouti. So it is somewhat, to my knowledge, impossible to determine the total number of those Okada riders in Djibouti. So how will I determine the sample size from those populations?
Thank you. Justice to the question that has just been asked regarding hypothesis and research question.
Yeah, thank you. when we have feedbacks like this, it shows that people listened and were excited to react. Well, let me say this about hypothesis and research question. For those of us in behavioral sciences, behavioral sciences, management sciences, sometimes when you say behavioral sciences, it covers those in social sciences, management sciences, education, and for those in the faculty of science, some departments in the faculty of science, we have a lot of us make use of hypotheses. But like I said, the design of your study will determine if you use only research hypotheses or research questions or both. For instance, if you are conducting a qualitative study, for instance, it makes sense to use research questions because that will give you a lot of opportunity to be able to get to the root of the themes that you are investigating. And it will also give you opportunity, even your participants, to be able to be very expressive. And in such situations, when you engage in thematic analysis, you can really have more data that's not confined to a space. But if, for instance, what you are looking at is more like a quasi-experimental design, your design is like an experimental design or a quasi-experimental design. Of course, once it's more quantitative in nature like that, it is better to use an hypothesis, or set of hypotheses. But again, sometimes, depending on the kind of data you also want to get, for you to have a robust kind of data, you can use both. But what students do that is in error is that they ask their research questions in the same way they drafted their hypothesis. Let me explain what I mean. For instance, if you want to look at whether there's going to be a significant difference, or a significant relationship, where there's no significant relationship between variable A, B, and C. We want to find whether there is a significant relationship, among those three variables. And you now ask, under your research question, you can say, is there a significant relationship among A, B, C? What you are testing is the same. So you are repeating what you have mentioned under research hypothesis under research question. But for instance, if in your research hypothesis you have said, is there a significant relationship among A, B, and C? And in your research question, you ask a question trying to find out the nature or the characteristics of those variables. It's a different thing. So you get more data. Whereas for those kind of research questions, ordinary descriptive statistics, simple percentages can help you to know what is the percentage of genders responses, what is the demographic characteristics of the participant. Research question can help to bring it to the fore. Whereas the nitty-gritty of the research itself, which is because it's a correlational study, a descriptive survey but of correlational, that is correlational in nature, the research hypothesis will help to bring that to the fore. So there's no hard rule about it. It is at the discretion of the researcher looking at the design of the study to make a decision. This study, if I have a set of hypotheses, I can get the data I want. Or the hypothesis will be confining me. I'll need more information. So I want to use both research questions and hypotheses. Again, you could have a design that is maybe qualitative research design now, where all you wanted was you need people to give their response unhindered. And in that time, maybe you are using the KIIDT, interview format. You can do that. Then on the issue of incentives, sorry. On the issue of incentives, I mentioned the other time. Why globally people frown against the usage of incentives is that it can help to change the data you really actually wanted to get. People may not be sincere because they have been motivated, excessively. But if you are using incentive to ensure that, like the example she cited, you want to keep the attrition rate low, you can do that. But it shouldn't be that if you come and you are able to answer the whole thing correctly, or you are able to fill out the thing, I'm going to give you 2,000 naira. I mean, people will be in a rush to even fill it, whether they will not even read the items. They will just fill, because you have said the number of items they are able to fill depends on how much you are giving them. And that's why we are saying, don't use incentives. But if you are using incentive, it will be so mild that it will not color the outcome of the research. It should such that could make, for instance, maybe you are conducting your research in a place and you feel it is hot. Of course, you can give water, okay, or some little snacks, but not the type that will make them that, let's go to that place, there's always snacks there. And it's no longer a research. So incentive is always found out, but it must give incentive at all. It should be such that it's mild, that will not likely color the outcome of your investigation. Then I want to just, as far as access to book is concerned, I can tell you authoritatively, and it is a statement of fact. Now we even have a new librarian, who incidentally is also a professor of library study. So if you get to the library and you think you are not attended to effectively, please insist on seeing the librarian. She will see you. She will see you. And when you get to the librarian and you tell her this is what I want, she will direct you to who will do it. And she will also tell you, if you are not satisfied, let me know. This university pay a lot of money. The Union's academic is here. And I can tell you, it runs into millions every year. So we can't have such assets and you are not benefiting. I'm not just trying to make us feel good. NUC said we should have 5. We have over 15 database. So please, avail yourself of the opportunity. When you get to the library, insist you want to see the librarian. Insist that you want to see the librarian. And maybe when she comes tomorrow, the provost will also ask her to please put mobile and email, on the PT platform, and I'm sure the provost will circulate that. So when you have any concern, you can send her a mail. But I can tell you for free that this university has one of the best, if not the best, lecturing database in this country. And that's a statement of fact. Then, on the issue of population, the example you gave, you see, the truth is that many of our PhD students are lazy. It is easy for you to get the number of Okada operators. And there are two things that you could do, for instance. It's like someone wanted to talk about teachers and say, oh, we can't get it. For Okada operators, you may not get the exact number, but you get something very close to it. They have associations, there are government registration points where those who ride Okadas are registered, there are local government councils. You may not get, when you get a population that's very close to what you are looking for. But already before you start, you already have this bias that, I might not like to know them. You won't go and find out. And you are seeing a situation where students would just write an estimate. And then when they come to university presentation, they will be taken on that is not true. We have seen students who say, no, I went to social university to administer this instrument. And the university that he said he went to administer the instrument, they don't even do that course there. And the university was bad, the university was free. It will be people from your department alone. It will be from all over the university. So sometimes I always say that dare to be different. Find out, go to council. You cannot ride an Okada ordinarily, ideally, without registering at the local government council. And that can give you an idea, even with the association. They have various rules depending on where you want to conduct your research. I hope I've been able to clear some of the doubts, and my colleagues would answer the ones I've not been able to. Thank you.
I think there is no hard and fast rule about this. It depends on your work. There are some, you have to just, when you are reviewing literature, certain criteria are very, very important. One, adequacy of the literature. Relevance of the literature. Is there everything you see that you have to review?
So it must be relevant. If you are working on social entrepreneurship and sustainable development, you need to identify the seminar articles. Who are the pioneers? Who are the experts? The authors in those areas. That if you don't cite them, you don't reference them, the pathfinders, those ones are key. What are the other authors that have come after those ones? You have to also identify them. Then you also look at the currency of the literature. This is 2024. You can't be reviewing 10 years literature. Those are the criteria that will guide the relevance of the literature. Then the currency. Then the credibility of sources. Not everything you see is Google Scholar or you see in Google that you must download and review. There are some literature that may not be appropriate. The content of the work may look appropriate, but the credibility of publisher and credibility of sources. So you need to look at those credible sources. For instance, in social and management sciences, there are some credible database you need to explore. In education, we say, if you are in sciences, basic medical sciences or in medicine, I know they have PubMed. So you have to go and look for those distinguished and outstanding literature or previous works that have been done. That will now determine also the policy of the institution. Sometimes you have number of words, number of pages. I could remember a day, Professor Ladoja was the examiner of the candidate. I said the literature review is more than the whole thesis. The literature review is more than the whole thesis. It cannot be, you have to maintain balance. At a point, when you over-review literature, you create too many bus stops for yourself. You get confused. It must not be too much and it must not be shallow. There must be a balance. Your supervisor also has a role to play. You also have a role to play. The quality of your reading and the quantity of your reading, adequacy of the literature. When you also search, you search to a level where the authors will be repeating themselves. When you also look at the references of the articles, you will also see that extensively the experts in that area, you have covered them. Those are renowned authors. You can also use geography. You can cross countries. In America, for instance, who are the renowned authors in this area? In Africa, who are the renowned authors? You can pick them around that area. You can also look at association to look at the experts and look at sources. Where have they done this work? Where are they published? Where are the journals? Journal of Accounting, American Journal of Accounting, Quarterly Journal of Finance. Those are sources in our own area. You have to review and say you have done adequate review. But if you just consider one journal in one environment that is not credible, and you review hundreds of those journals, it might not be sufficient. So there's no hard and fast rule about it, about the adequacy of literature. So I think I'll be able to address.
Thank you, sir. And we put our step forward, sir, and give this clarification, almost really clarification on whether to use present tense, if I'm not mistaken, in research proposal. Thank you.
This is another professors on the platform. You can use historic present. The other name for present simple tense is historic present. It gives it life. It continues to live forever. It doesn't die. That's how we use present continuous tense or present simple tense, or what we call historic present. But you have to be very careful when you sing historic present so that you don't mix up tenses. You don't use past with present simple tense, That's the danger in it. Otherwise, there's no harm in using present simple tense in a work that is about to be written. Now let me take you back to the first question. How can we determine a suitable theory for researches in Faculty of Art? I want to tell you that the issue you want to discuss
determines the theory you are going to apply. Is it going to be formalism? Is it Marxism? Is it existentialism? Is it aesthetics? All this theory, it depends on what you want to look at. For instance, if I want to write a paper on Olabisola University, I may divide my topics into aesthetics. In that wise, I will look at the image of Olabisola at the gate, you know, and talk about it, discuss the beauty, the artist who was responsible for that. After that, I will go to the gate. That's a paragraph. The next paragraph will take me to the gate. I look at the design of the gate, all the artifacts embedded on the gate, what to be mentioned. I'm talking about aesthetics. What about the beauty of the lawns, you know, the landscape? You talk about it, that's another paragraph. You discuss the landscape, okay? Thereafter, that's in a paragraph. If you can't finish that in a paragraph, you provide a transition, you go to the next paragraph. The next thing is to talk about the beautiful houses, the buildings, the color, the uniformity of the colors, you know. Discuss this. 1 or 2, 3, 4 paragraphs. That's aesthetics. That's beauty. So whatever you are going to write determines the theory that you will apply. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The questioner asked if we can add DOI to referencing. Yes, we can add it. And also, like I said, there are different citation style, referencing style. So depending on the style you are using, and most of the style nowadays, you add DOI to it because you can actually get the source to online. Then also, you can also use your DOI, the digital object identifier, while you are adding your manuscript or your article to your Zotero. Like I said, the one I show is from the database, which is just from Google Scholar. You can get from other database. So there are basically 3 methods of adding your articles to your Zotero to generate your library. Through the database, like the Google Scholar have used, then through DOI or ISBN. If you have a DOI of a particular article or you have the ISBN of the book, you can actually input it directly on your Zotero, and it will bring everything you need for you to use. Then finally you can add it manually. So those are the 3 methods. And someone also asked that said the citation that I use are not that it's that they are not correct. I mean, some are supposed to be utilized, but they are not. Like I said, it depends on the style that you have used. There are many styles.
Exercise tomorrow conquered everything that has to do with OOU, postgraduate student, MSc and PhD level. The Vice Chancellor is really represented by the Vice Chancellor Academic, Professor Olatudu Abosede Oderinde. Other distinguished personalities here, of course, our highly celebrated, our